Come subscribe to my channel for more intense family dramas and revenge stories that hit hard. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. The snow fell in fat, silent flakes over Vienna that December evening, blanketing the Ringstrasse in pristine white. The city looked like a Christmas card. Golden lights strung across the opera house, horse-drawn carriages clinking past the Hofburg. The air sharp with roasted chestnuts and mulled wine. Inside the Palais Coburg, one of the most exclusive hotels in Europe, a private New Year's Eve gala was underway. Crystal chandeliers glittered like frozen galaxies. Waiters in black tie moved silently with trays of Dom Perignon and caviar blinis. A string quartet played Strauss waltzes, and the scent of expensive perfume mingled with the faint smoke of Cuban cigars. I stood near the marble staircase in my tailored midnight blue tuxedo, a glass of champagne in hand that I hadn't touched. My name was Lucas Berger, 42 years old, architect. I had designed the glass and steel extension to the Kunsthistorisches Museum that had earned me the Austrian State Prize for architecture. Tonight, I was here as the husband of Anna von Hohenberg, daughter of one of the oldest aristocratic families left in Austria. Her mother, Baroness Elisabeth von Hohenberg, had invited us personally. "It's important we show unity," she had said, her voice cool as the marble under my feet. Anna looked breathtaking in emerald silk that matched her eyes. Her blonde hair was swept into an elegant chignon, diamonds at her throat catching the light every time she laughed. She had been laughing a lot tonight. At everything. At nothing. Elizabeth approached us at exactly 10:47 p.m. I remember the time because the grandfather clock in the corner chimed the quarter hour just as she handed me the small, laminated badge. "Here, Lucas," she said, her smile thin and perfect. "We wouldn't want the staff to get confused about who belongs where." I looked down. The badge read, ***, Lucas Berger, ***, Housekeeper, ***. My stomach turned cold. Anna burst into laughter. High, musical, the sound she used when she wanted everyone to notice how amused she was. Heads turned. A few people smiled uncertainly. Someone nearby chuckled politely. Elizabeth's eyes glittered. "It's just a little joke, darling," she said to Anna. "You know how sensitive he gets." I felt the heat rise in my face, but I kept my expression neutral. I had learned that from years of dealing with the von Hohenbergs. Never show weakness. Never give them the satisfaction. I slipped the badge into my pocket. "Very clever," I said quietly. "Happy New Year, Elizabeth." I walked away. Behind me, Anna's laughter followed like broken glass. We had been married 12 years. I had met her at a charity ball in Salzburg when I was 30. She was 28, beautiful, untouchable, and bored. I was the rising architect from a working-class family in Graz. My father had been a mason, my mother a seamstress. They had scraped together every shilling to send me to university. The von Hohenbergs had centuries of titles, castles, and contempt. Anna had married me because I was exotic, because I could make her laugh, because I looked good in photographs. For the first few years, it worked. We traveled, we hosted dinners. I designed a new wing for their family estate in Styria. I thought I had been accepted. I was wrong. The von Hohenbergs never accepted anyone who wasn't born into their world. They tolerated me, they used me. And when my career peaked and the commission slowed, when the economy shifted and modern architecture fell out of fashion in conservative Vienna, they began to show their true colors. Elizabeth had always been the worst. She called me the builder's son behind my back. She whispered to Anna that I was, well, lucky to have married up. She reminded me at every family dinner that the house in Grinsing, the one I had renovated with my own hands, was still legally in Anna's name. Just a precaution, she said sweetly. Family tradition. Anna never contradicted her. That night, after the gala, we drove back to our apartment in the Innere-Stadt. The snow had stopped. The streets were quiet. Anna hummed softly to the radio. I broke the silence. Why did you laugh? She glanced over. It was funny. Was it? Come on, Lucas. It was a joke. Mother's sense of humor is old-fashioned. I gripped the steering wheel. She humiliated me in front of 200 people. You're overreacting. I pulled into the underground garage and turned off the engine. The silence was deafening. I'm not overreacting, I said. I'm finally seeing clearly. She sighed. You always do this. You take everything so personally. I looked at her then, really looked. The woman I had loved for half my life. The woman who had once cried in my arms when her father died. The woman who had laughed while her mother branded me a servant. I'm done, I said. She laughed again, nervous this time. Done with what? With all of it. I moved out the next week. I took only my clothes, my books, and my drawings. I left everything else. The furniture I designed, the art we had collected together, the life we had built. Anna didn't fight it. She thought I'd come crawling back. She thought I needed her family's connections to survive. She was wrong. I rented a small apartment in Neubau. Simple, clean, mine. I started taking smaller commissions, residential renovations, boutique hotels. I worked late into the night, the city lights glittering outside my window like a promise. And I began to plan. The von Hohenbergs had one weakness: pride. Their estate in Styria, Schloss Hohenberg, was their crown jewel. 600 years old. A sprawling Baroque palace with formal gardens, a private chapel, and a wine cellar that held vintages from the 18th century. They had kept it through wars, revolutions, and taxes by selling off land, art, and dignity. But the house itself was sacred, untouchable, until the new highway project. The Austrian government had quietly proposed a new north-south corridor that would cut directly through the Styrian countryside. The route had been debated for years, but the final plans were now on the table. And one of the proposed alignments went straight across the eastern edge of the Hohenberg estate. The von Hohenbergs were horrified. They had hired the best lawyers in Vienna to fight it. They lobbied politicians. They threw fundraisers. They appeared on television, elegant and tragic, pleading to save their heritage. I was the one who had designed the new visitor center for the Kunsthistorisches Museum, the one who had won the contract for the expansion of the Graz Opera, the one who sat on the advisory board for cultural heritage preservation. I had friends in the Ministry of Transport. I made a call. I suggested an alternative route, slightly longer, slightly more expensive, but one that avoided the estate entirely. I provided maps, environmental impact studies, cost estimates. I spoke to the right people at the right time. The original route was scrapped. The von Hohenbergs celebrated. They toasted their victory. They sent me a polite thank you note, signed by Elizabeth, of course. We appreciate your discretion. I smiled and filed it away. Then I waited. 2 years passed. Anna remarried, a banker from Zurich. They bought a penthouse in Dobling. She still wore the emerald earrings I had given her on our wedding day. She still smiled in the society pages. The estate in Styria began to crumble. Maintenance costs were astronomical. The roof leaked. The heating system dated from the 1950s. The wine cellar had flooded during a storm. They couldn't afford to keep it up. Elizabeth refused to sell. "Over my dead body," she said. So they began to rent it out for weddings, corporate retreats, film shoots, anything to bring in money. I watched from afar. Then came the opportunity. A luxury hotel chain approached them with an offer, a long-term lease. They would restore the palace, turn it into a 5-star resort, and the family could retain ownership and a percentage of profits. The von Hohenbergs were desperate. They signed. The chain hired me as the lead architect for the restoration. Elizabeth nearly choked when she saw my name on the contract. She tried to block it. She called the chain. She threatened lawsuits. But the contract was ironclad, and the family had already accepted the advance payment. I arrived at the estate on a crisp autumn morning. The leaves were turning gold. Mist rose from the meadows. The palace stood proud against the mountains, but the paint was peeling, the windows cloudy. I walked through the halls where I had once been a guest. I touched the banister where Anna had once leaned against me, whispering promises. I stood in the ballroom where we had danced at our engagement party. Elizabeth met me in the library. She looked older, thinner. Her hands shook slightly as she poured tea. "You're enjoying this," she said. I met her eyes. "No, I'm doing my job." She laughed bitterly. "You're destroying us." "I'm saving your house." She stared at me. "You could have walked away." "I did. You made sure of that." She set her cup down. "Anna still loves you, you know." I almost laughed. She loves the idea of me, the idea of what I could have been. I stood. "The restoration begins next month. I'll be here every week. I'll make sure everything is done to the highest standard. Your family name will shine again." She looked at me with something close to fear. I left her there, alone in the library that smelled of old books and regret. The project took 3 years. I worked tirelessly. I brought in the best craftsmen. I preserved the frescoes, restored the stucco, rebuilt the orangery. I made the palace more beautiful than it had been in centuries. The hotel opened with a grand gala. The von Hohenbergs attended. Elizabeth wore black. Anna came with her husband. They smiled for the cameras. I gave a speech. I thanked the family for their trust. I spoke of heritage, of legacy, of the importance of preserving history. Then I introduced the new director of the hotel, a young woman from Graz, sharp, ambitious, from a family not unlike mine. Elizabeth's face went white. I had ensured that the hotel chain would appoint her. The contract allowed it. The new director would live on site. She would oversee every detail. She would decide who was invited, who stayed in the family suites, who was allowed to use the private chapel. The von Hohenbergs were now tenants in their own home. After the speeches, I found Anna in the garden. She was smoking. She hadn't smoked since university. "You did this," she said. I nodded. "Why?" I looked at the palace glowing against the night sky. "Because you laughed." She crushed the cigarette under her heel. "I never thought you could be this cruel. I never thought you could be this blind." I walked away. She didn't follow. The hotel became a success. The von Hohenbergs received their percentage. They lived in the East Wing. 2 floors they retained as a private apartment. They could see the guests walking through their halls. They could hear the laughter in the rooms where their ancestors had slept. Elizabeth died 2 years later, quietly, in her sleep. Anna inherited her share. She tried to sell it. The contract forbade it. She still lives in Zurich. She rarely comes back. I kept the apartment in Neubau. I kept working. I kept building. And sometimes late at night, when the city is quiet and the snow falls again, I drive past the palace. I don't go in. I just sit in the car and watch the lights and the windows. I watch the strangers moving through the rooms that once belonged to them, and I feel nothing. Not revenge, not satisfaction, just peace. The kind of peace that comes when the last laugh finally belongs to you.